CSM are solo, community, or somehow identified independent participants. And I cannot say for sure because the information about all of these operators is definitely not available, and some of them are purely anonymous. But I have a feeling that more than 100 of them are net new node operators to Ethereum, which is absolutely incredible. But what is more incredible is the items in the next on-chain vote. And among them, there will be one that is particularly interesting for the CSM fans, node operators, and for all of you guys. This is permissionless transition of CSM. So within the next on-chain vote, which would happen within the next 2 to 4 weeks, we do not know the exact date for sure. Transition of CSM from the early adoption mode to a fully permissionless mode would be proposed to the DAO. And if LDO holders will support this transition, we have a decent chance of seeing fully permissionless CSM within less than a month. Now let's learn what we need to do and how can we prepare for the permissionless transition, no matter if you are already in CSM or just considering joining CSM. The first thing you need to do is you need to get your ETH, STETH, or ROPT STETH prepared to be provided as a bond, because as you know, to spin up validators in CSM, you need to provide a fraction of 32 ETH as a collateral, as a security collateral to be able to run validators. The next thing is definitely validator keys. So you need to generate your validator keys, you need to upload them into your validator client, and you need to make sure that everything is fine with your nodes. They are in sync with the network, they have all the parameters set correctly, and so on. The last, but definitely not least, out of the technical steps is to have your deposit data JSON prepared, because you will need this file to upload keys using CSM UI to CSM. To make sure that your setup is in a proper state and you have set everything correctly, I want you to read the CSM guide one more time. It is very useful and very easy that running validators with CSM is almost like running vanilla validators, with the only difference being that you need to set a couple of parameters in the correct way. So make sure to walk through this short guide and double check all of the parameters. And finally, follow Lido Finance on Twitter and join Lido Discord not to miss the announcement of the on-chain vote, so that you'll be able to upload more keys if you are already an operator, or join CSM right after the permissionless transition. Because keep in mind that the number of spots, the number of available validators to be allocated to CSM is limited by the stake share limit, which would also be increased, by the way, from 1% to 2% within the vote. So make sure to follow Lido on socials not to miss the announcement. And with that said, I would like to wish you happy validation with the world's best computer. Thank you so much. That's it from my side.
Thanks, Dima. I really do recommend people to join the Discord, because that's a great place to ask questions. It's getting more active by the day, I feel sometimes. I also have to apologize to our viewers and to Dima, because the sound cut off in the first minute or so. I'm pretty sure we have it all fixed due to our highly skilled technical crew. So without further ado, I'd like to continue with Sasha about the ValSet updates.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Yes, I hope you all had a great time during holidays. But now, traditionally, let's take a look back and see what December brought to Lido node operators community. And first up my slides. I don't know, sometimes someone needs to teach me how to use this tool, to be honest. But yeah. All right. In December, a public discussion around increasing the gas limit was started by Easy to assess the node operator sentiment and willingness to increase the gas limit, and there has been quite a lot of question raised about readiness to make this move. But as for now, some of the node operators has already increased the gas limit right now, investigating its impact to their performance and their infrastructure. And in short, the call to action for node operators here is to participate in the discussion rather than to do any kind of like immediate action without considering it thoroughly. Next update is about Validator's exit. As far as I remember last month, I mentioned that the new version of the standard was proposed. And now I just want to give an update here that the standard was approved by the DAO vote, which means that since then, this is the kind of source of truth for all node operators that utilize the Lido protocol. And again, about the changes made, the standard now covers all the cases and peculiarities with regards to exit and how they work in different modules, like, for example, how penalty measures for not exiting a validator differ from one module to another, because there is a difference. And some details were added around the module stake share, the operator's target share, and the validator exit order. And now we are moving to the community staking track. And while Dima already covered the main piece of news about CSM, about the upcoming vote, I'll quickly go through what happens around it. In December, we had a big release of the CSM package on DAppNode. And the main features of this package include like notification mechanisms, automatic ejector, and an extended UI that on top of all the existing features that we already have in CSM UI can show you even more information. Like, as you can see on the screen, like the DAppNode UI can show you the status of your infrastructure, which is in my opinion really, really cool, as it is something that the native CSM UI is not capable of showing. So if you're a DAppNode user, definitely check that out, at least on testnet, but of course, ideally on CSM mainnet. All right, next up, community staking tribes. I previously announced, I think, this initiative and its features, and in short, this is an initiative with the primary goal of bringing more net new solo stakers to Ethereum in general, and of course, to CSM in particular, where Web3 companies or DAOs provide hardware funding to their contributors to run CSM validators, and it helps to bring obviously more new solo stakers, as well as making these contributors more experienced in Ethereum validation, assuming that this is the main domain of their contribution and their work. And for the DAOs, it's, in my opinion, one of the best way to indicate their alignment with the Ethereum values and its decentralization track. And as you can see in this beautiful picture, there is a logo of the Drop protocol, because Drop was among the first protocol who joined this initiative, and their contributors are starting their solo staker journey, I mean, just right now, with the guidance of the DAppNode team and Lido community lifeguards. Okay, community grants. The round of community grants is still in its active phase and will last till mid of February. Over December, some of the, I would say, tool builders got their retroactive grants for their developments, namely a CLI tool for managing CSM validators, a CSM reward calculator, and a CSM integration with the Network Explorer. Also, there were 2 grants covered meetups, one in Argentina and one in Nigeria, which is pretty cool, since it's the first community staking event in Africa supported by Community Lifeguards Initiative. And the last one, speaking about events, there were 2 more hosted by Sam. Sam is a Lido community lifeguard, where Sam was sharing his knowledge in solo staking with local crypto communities. And this year there will be more solo stakers guild all around the world, so stay tuned. And that's it from me. I'm wishing you a fantastic year, and I'm passing back to Sven.
Thanks, Sasha. That was great. Perfect connection as well. There were some doubts about that, but crystal clear, the sound as well as the demo. I think we have an OAT coming up. Regular viewers will know what that's all about. High risk, high reward, I think. So Bernard, if you're ready, please take it away as well.
Hello, hello. All right, let me share my screen. All right, cool. So yeah, hey everyone, I'm Bernard from FirstHead. At FirstHead, we're a staking lab that operates nodes, and we also build to help crypto advance and succeed. And as part of this, we are node operators in the CSM, where we run 12 validators right now. And as part of our operation, we basically built this open source tool that we call the Validator Swarm, which is we like to think about it as a Swiss Army knife for participating in the CSM. And so yeah, basically it's the Validator Swarm is a CLI tool that we built to help us abstract away certain actions, common actions for performing different things on the CSM or on an Ethereum validator. And so we basically wanted to make it as simple as possible to perform these actions because, especially when, some of the actions like, bonding a validator might be a bit tedious. Sometimes if shit hits the fan or you want to check that like you're registered on all the relays and so on, you want to have a very easy, simple way of doing that. You don't want to really have to think through it too much. And so that's kind of like how we built it. Also, because during the testnet, we wanted to make sure that we would be a great participant that could demonstrate, our own skills and really prove ourselves. And so during the CSM testnet period, we managed to scale up to more than 100 validators, thanks to this tool. You can check it out at github.com/firsthead/validator-swarm. And I'm gonna basically run you through it, so you don't need to read the README yourself. But TLDR, the features that we currently support with the tool, and we're constantly improving it, and also as we stress test it further, we keep fixing the things that we find along the way. But basically, there's 5 main things that we support. The first one, of course, is deploying validators, including support for remote signer. So we, for instance, use Web3 Signer internally, and so we built support for that, but it's not necessary. It's an optional flag. In the tool, we also make it very easy to find and fix inconsistencies. So let's say that you want to deposit, I don't know, 4 validators, and for some reason throughout the process something fails. Maybe you manage to upload the keys to your validator, but you fail to upload the keys to the remote signer, like the private key and stuff. You want to basically revert what happened so you can try to do it again. Or maybe the CSM transaction fails. And so we also built a command to very easily spot inconsistencies, and then another one to fix them or revert them. We also have a command for exiting validators. There's 2 variants of that. There's one where you can do it manually by supplying the public key of the validator you want to exit. And there's another option for basically, you can monitor the validator exit bus oracle to see if Lido wants you to exit the validator. And there's a flag there that also actions on those requests automatically. When you run the monitoring command and you have the tool basically monitoring the Vivo, you can do 2 things besides automatically exiting. You can also notify a channel on Telegram that maybe you use for your alerts or for random events. And the last one is we have a command for checking. It's like getting a report on the MEV relays that all your CSM validators are registered with. There's some variants of that I'll show later. But basically, in terms of the prerequisites for running this tool, you need Python. I think 3.9 or above recommended. I run it with 3.9, I think, or maybe it was 3.11. I don't remember, but it's in the README. Recently, we added support for Docker as an alternative. We're still testing it out, but for now, it works for us. So it would be great if you test it and find any issues, let us know. Open an issue on GitHub, for instance. That's the best way to do it, probably. You also need the deposit generation tool deposit key generation tool if you're using Python. For Docker, you don't need it because the Docker file, the Docker image already downloads it. You need a seed phrase. I'm not sure if you know, but the deposit key generation tool has a dictionary of, I think, 2048 words. And so I found that if I came up with my own words, it fails. So it's best to basically generate with that tool. You also need access to RPC nodes, and you need a validator client that has support for multiple key management. Like Lighthouse, we use Lighthouse, it works well. It needs to be reachable through SSH. One of the premises of the tool is that your machines, like the validator, the remote signer, are accessible through SSH, because the tool basically creates SSH tunnels with those machines. So that's also a prerequisite in a way. In terms of the commands and how they work, so this is the command for deploying validators. You can specify how many keys. You can specify which index to use on top of the mnemonic to generate unique keys that haven't been used before. There's an optional flag for the remote signer. And here's the steps that happen through the tool. As part of it, the tool exposes a web page, so it spins up a web server, and it gives you a URL that you access on your local host, and you can sign the transaction with MetaMask. So that's how it works, and I'll demo it later. For inconsistencies, so that's basically how the command works. So it's called state check. Without the delete flag, it just provides a report of the inconsistencies. With the delete flag, it tries to rectify them. And then to exit validators, so that's how you do it. You provide the public key. To monitor the Vivo, so that's the command. You can add flags for Telegram and delete. Something that I didn't mention that's in the README is that there's a config file, basically, where you would add things like your Telegram channel ID and your API key and stuff like that. And for the MEV relay, so there's a few options here. We've been iterating on this command as we got feedback from the Lido team. But basically, there's a few different ways for using this command. The main one, the default one, is you get a summary report for all your public keys, but you can also get a report for just one public key, and you can also get a more detailed report with more context on the whole thing. All right, so now we'll do a demo, and so yeah, let's try to deploy a validator. So we're basically going to use the Python version, since it's the one that we tend to use internally. And so we're going to deploy one validator, and I'm going to use a seed phrase that I just created for this demo that I have here. So I'm just going to copy paste it, and I'll have it here I'm going to use index. I don't know. I think I used it before to create a node, so I'm just going to use index 2. And so we will enter the mnemonic. And this is on testnet, by the way, so it's definitely not in prod. But yeah, so this is basically generating the deposit key, and surely it's going to try to deposit it to the validator once it's created. And I'll have to probably authenticate. I use an SSH agent with my Vault, so I don't know if it's going to show up here, but I have another screen. That's why. All right, so it was imported. Perfect. It calculated the bond. It calls the contract to figure out what the bond should be. Then we have, so yeah, the server running on localhost 8000. And so we're just going to go there and try to sign. And so here's MetaMask. I'm not sure if the MetaMask extension is showing, but basically, I'm just going to confirm. And so now it's signed. And here we have the transaction hash. And so now we can go here and look it up. And so it's pending. Hopefully it gets included into the next blog fairly soon. Might take a bit. It's getting indexed. We can otherwise check it a bit later. I can also show. Let's try to do the relay check, the MEV check. And we have 100 validators, so it's a lot of requests. All right, there we go. So this is basically all the validators that we have on testnet. So it's, I think, 100, 110. The last two that we created just recently. So we created one now and one as a trial run before the call. They don't have the MEV release yet. I'm actually not sure if that's intentional or not, so I'll have to check that. But basically, you can see how for all our other validators, we have 4 of the 5 mandatory relays registered with, and 0 of the 5 that are optional. So, and now going back to a transaction, it's been indexed, and so here's how we created, with a positive 1 validator to Lido. All right, so I think
Bernard, can I ask something?
this is it. Yeah, who's that?
Hey, it's Izzy. Sorry, Izzy from Lido.
All right, hey Izzy, what's up?
When you do the MEV relay check, are you also checking that the correct fee recipient has been set?
No, actually, that we're not checking. I think I looked into it actually, and there was a reason we couldn't do it, but we can discuss it offline if you think there's a way to do it.
I think it should be able to do it. In theory, if you pull a relay for the registration of a pub key, it should tell you which FR they've registered.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so there's 2 ways to do it. Like, actually, this is a really interesting problem, right? Because one of the issues that we face, especially with CSM, is that people don't correctly configure their fee recipient, or like the fee recipient gets overridden because like it's pretty complex, given that there's like a consensus layer that has its own fee recipient configuration and the validator client. Maybe you're using Web3 signer, yada yada yada. And so in theory, there's like 2 ways to go about doing this. You can poll your local nodes for what fee recipients they have configured. The complication here is that like every client does this differently, and some clients don't enable it by default. So you have to turn on like the key manager or like, I don't know, like special ports, yada, yada, yada. But the one thing that is pretty consistent is that if you know that the pub key has been registered to an MEV boost relay, the fee recipient is included as a part of the registration. The one downside is that sometimes this registration is like sticky. So somebody might have updated their fee recipient, but they really might give you a cached result or actually use the cached fee recipient. And so that but it's a very, very small edge case.
Yeah, interesting. I'll have to check. I know that we use, I know which endpoint we're using for that, but when I last checked, I don't remember that if it was there or not. Anyway, we'll check it, and if it's there, then we'll make it happen. Should be pretty trivial if it's there. All right, cool. So yeah, I hope this demo helped. So yeah, thanks a lot for sticking through. And here's the link again if you want to check it out. And otherwise, you can reach out to us via email. So our email is here. Our handle on Twitter or X is here. DM us anywhere. Open an issue on GitHub if you find anything. Ideas on things to improve or things that don't work or don't work well enough for you, just let us know, and we'll be happy to take a look.
Thanks, Bernard. I also have a question. How does it check the VBO, the exit bus oracle? Like, does it do it on an interval, or how does it check that?
No, so that's part of the requirement for WebSockets RPC, is that we try to just subscribe to the event.
And you check all the oracle reports, and then just parse the indexes that are requested.
Yeah, so I believe that we create and this we built quite a long time ago at this point, but I believe that what we do is we like keep a live connection with the RPC, monitoring for a particular event emitted by the contract. So whenever it's fired, we take note of that, basically. So it should basically it should be quite real time, if that's what you're trying to ask for.
Well, that's not what I'm trying to ask for, but yeah, that's kind of. I was just wondering how you did it. That's interesting. A small note: the relays, they're not mandatory; they're like must-have, which is sometimes confusing. So there's a list of these relays, and you must use some of those relays, but it's not mandatory to use all of them. So the check is definitely good. Like if it checks relays that are not on any of these lists, I think that's ideal. So this is really cool. And it's not the only tool you guys made. You made the Dune dashboard for the performance of CSM testnet. Huge data set, really insightful. That was really cool. Are there any other tools you guys are working on or plan to work on?
We're thinking about something, but not on the Ethereum side of things. More on the Cosmos side, but yeah, we're definitely always looking for opportunities and ways to help, basically. So.
Okay, great. Yeah, awesome. I love this community build stuff. It's really cool. So thanks for that. Thanks for the demo. We had another technical mishap. For the dual governance, which is in development as we speak. Cadmo, are you ready?
Yep.
All right.
Tell me when to start.
You can start right now, sir.
Great. Give me a second. Sorry for the usual Zoom dance about whether you can see my screen. Hopefully you do.
We can't see your screen, sir. And we have this awesome technical team that just cuts away all this Zoom stuff. So it's flawless. It's seamless.
Great. So let's start. Name's Kamil, and today I'm gonna present you small status update and actually have a pretty big ask for non-operator community of Lido on Ethereum. So let's start with what the status on dual governance in general is, and potentially better start with rehashing of what it actually is. Dual governance has been brought up as an idea for better protection of stakers using Lido on Ethereum protocol, and basically evolved as a way for Steve to visibly object LDO governance motions. As you know, Lido on Ethereum protocol smart contracts are upgradable. So basically, there is an opening for LDO governance to do a lot of stuff. And what Lido wants to do as a path to decentralization and as a path to better protection for stakers is basically the way for stakers to if not block LDO governance decisions, but to at very least visibly and exit with a bang, let's say. So dual governance is the technical project which allows for that and which ties together governance mechanics and staking mechanics. Usually, most of other DeFi protocols you can see in the wild use such a mechanic with basically allowing for a time lock long enough for withdrawals to come together. And unfortunately, the Ethereum staking is made different of sorts, not allowing for predefined time lock to be enough in all the cases. So while the first idea was to do something very straightforward and allow for long enough time lock between LDO governance decisions and their executability to come together and allow enough time for Steve to exit the protocol if Steve holder doesn't like what LDO has to offer. In essence, that's easier said than done. So right now, the design basically implements very dynamic and surprisingly complicated time lock system, allowing for that exit rights with like a number of catches, which I'll talk upon in a minute. Would note that there is a good explainer on forum. You can search by word explainer and see for Lido Governance post. And there is a specific doc section about committees and Tbreaker committee, which I touch upon in a second. We, like the contributors, have been talking about Lido Governance for quite a while. That's a long-running research project which we've been looking to develop and implement like for the best part of the last year, and I honestly I'm afraid to say the specific start date, but contributors have had a dedicated team working on that for quite a while. You may understand why. Basically, in order to have anything like Lido Governance, you need to build a code upon which all the governance system would rely upon. And it's one thing to design something for a new system and start it, and that's another thing to try to change your airplane's navigation system while you're flying it. So basically, that's what happens with Lido Governance right now. And by this moment in time, the code is almost ice cold. So specification is published, code is published, and there is like final commit or like almost final commit. Why saying almost? Because we have re-audits just restarted. So a lot of stuff going on in regards to making sure the final version contributors would be shipped into production is as safe and airtight as possible. There is a project around preparation for development, for deployment, and the vault. There is a long-running project around picking the correct parameters and making sure it's well understood what kind of parameters in such a system should be like reasonably good. And you may see the whole thing being technically pretty complex and requiring quite a lot of public comms. That's something contributors are also picking up and working on. So you may expect more and like more detailed comms about Lido Governance to come out in about like month or month and a half, something like that. So that's the status. Like basically, still quite a lot of work to be done, to do, but the status is pretty close to for the thing to be deployed to production. So all that said, why Tbreak? What this word here means, and like, what is this stuff about? As I've mentioned, Lido Governance in the current design like is revolving around the ability for a STF holder to safely withdraw their effort from the protocol, from Lido on Ethereum, even facing like malicious or like basically LDO governance decision, STF holder doesn't want to affect their STF and their efforts. But you can do it, you can safely withdraw only if withdrawals work. So you may notice that at first, Lido Governance design depends upon like the withdrawal queue contract. So that's something one can't like circumvent or get like not pay attention to. And second thing to notice and second thing to bear in mind, working with withdrawals and ability to pause withdrawals for some time is crucial for potential mitigation of issues in Lido on Ethereum protocol. So there is a mechanics called gate seal, basically allowing specified like nimble and very technical committee to pause withdrawals for a predefined amount of time for DAO governance to like come together, figure out what the situation is, figure out what the mitigation is, and like do something about it. Given that DAO governance allowing for dynamic time lock, like basically makes the governance reaction time unpredictable and dynamic as well at very least. One thing one has to have, like one should be looking to have, is like being able to pause withdrawals for longer than predefined time to give dynamic like the dynamically time locked governance enough time to react. That said, if your time lock depends upon withdrawals functioning and there is a way for withdrawals to get blocked, like one could expect to get into rough place as an edge case of an edge case. So potentially there is a way for dual governance, like looking at withdrawals and withdrawals getting finalized to be interlocked with withdrawal queue being paused and being able to be unpaused only through LDO governance decision. Again, one should notice that this situation, like I would say personally that I find it very unlikely, but you are not writing code for only hyperpath, you write code for edge cases or open edge cases. So what the current design kind of looks upon is introducing Tbreaker committee. That's a super committee, basically like multisig of multisigs, which in case withdrawals are locked and governance is locked, would be able to get activated. It activates only in this like edge case of an edge case kind of situation, and would be able to like execute LDO governance decisions or unlock stuff. So that's basically what this thing is about. It's we expect that to be very like basically to be nuclear in a good sense, a nuclear option which one doesn't look to get activated in actuality, but it's better to have something to break the tie on otherwise unbreakable situation. So the idea is to have Tbreaker on that. Why am I taking the time from Notipator's community call to discuss it and to paint like broader picture? From one end, I wanted to give a small update and thank you for like getting through. From another, as I've mentioned, the current design looks to have Tbreaker composed from at least 3 different groups. One of those groups being teams working as like and contributing as Lido curated monoperators. So what I'm looking for here and like what the big ask I've announced in the beginning is that if your team is Lido curated non-operator and you're filling up for a task of like being signer of last resort or of an edge case of another edge case, please fill out the small form with QR. I have shared the link before that in like not operators Telegram group, or ping me in Telegram with any kind of questions and whatnot. So that's the ask. And that's the status on Tbreaker and dual governance project in itself. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Cadmo. That was a cool call to action. So this is specifically for curated node operators currently.
Yep, I'd say yes.
Okay, great. I realize now. I already said it. It's surprisingly complicated, this dual governance, and this doesn't really go into dual governance itself, so which is fine. For the viewers like wondering what's he talking about, luckily this isn't the first talk about dual governance. There's a bunch of them. I know you had a talk in Amsterdam, for example, Crypto Canal or ETHDAM, what's it called? So there's a bunch of talks you can find right on YouTube. So this is the final segment, so you can search that and go straight to that for more on dual governance, because it's a very complicated topic. And I see on Twitter that like people active in the crypto sphere really are not aware of what dual governance is, how it works. So it's there's a lot to learn there. Really recommend people to look that up. Otherwise, I just want to thank you for now, I think. And this was the last segment. It's early, people. It was a short episode. We do have another one coming up in February, so number 25 already. And for now, I just want to thank everyone on the call and in the chat, and our viewers at home, of course. And I wish you all a good day. Bye, everyone.